الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام على حبيبه وخيرته من خلقه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who made praise the key to his remembrance and a mean for increasing his bounties and a guide to his majesty and glory. We convey our greeting and salutation to the most beloved and the most noble of all the prophets, Prophet Muhammad and his pure progenies. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifina'ik. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O those who believe, be God conscious in the way one should. Then you will not depart save as a Muslim. Al-Imran 102. I start with the usual recap of a major point that we discussed last night. The focus of the last night's discussion was on brief biographical account of the 12th Imam. I stated that we really need to divide the life of the Imam into three different phases. The first phase is from birth up to the beginning of Imamah, which was only 5 years. Then the second phase, the short or the minor occultation, which was about 69 years. And then obviously the major occultation, which still continues. The minor occultation, I explained, had a unique character, that the whole rationale of it was, and the primary responsibility of the link and the deputies between the Imam and the Shia community were to gradually and slowly and carefully prepare them for the ultimate change and transition that is going to take place, where there is no longer an Imam present, or there is no way of communicating with the Imam, and the role of leadership of the community will be designated to the scholars and the learners within the community. Four deputies clearly were I listed in my discussion last night. And by the year 329, Imam wrote a letter to the last deputy that you are not supposed to appoint anyone after you, because the short occultation or the minor occultation is going to come to an end and the major occultation will start. Major occultation is something that we still within it. We don't know when it's going to come to an end. Few questions that repeatedly posed regarding the major occultation, I chose few of them and I just briefly touched upon. Number one was, how do we know this person to be the Imam? Second question was, how is it possible for somebody to live that long? The third, why can't we believe that that person either is not born and will be born in the future, or the person died and then somebody else will come in the future to take that responsibility. And I discussed the reason why the scholars, that this question is primarily a theological question that is challenged by the scholars and given various answers, including one which is fundamentally that the earth cannot be devoid of hujjah and divinely appointed representative on earth, because that hujjah is the link between heaven and the ordinary people. I pointed out, those of you who were present during last Ramadan's conversation, particularly the debate and the discussion we had on the night of the power on Laylatul Qadr, with regard to who receives the malaika or the angels as they descend from heaven to earth. It is the living Imam. Tonight, I want to focus on another question which was posed on the list. If you go to the page, and to the essence or the gist of the question was to draw a comparison or compare and contrast between Ashab Imam Hussain salawatullah salamu alayhi in the day of Ashura and Ashab or the disciples of the Imam as Imam Mahdi as he returns. Look at these two. But before I focus on the similarities and the differences that exist between the followers or those few numbers that were with Imam Hussain in Ashura and those few numbers that will be with the Imam al-Mahdi at the time that he returns, I want to briefly touch upon an issue that I wasn't able to discuss last night because of the time. One of the major challenges or major discussions that we have every time we talk about Imam al-Mahdi, where is he now? Immediately. The place of where exactly is located. There are some people who claim that Imam is isolated to remain invisible. Imam is isolated in some unique island Jazirat al-Khadra, or some other places. And hence, the nature of this answer is that he really has no contact with the believers, with the community. The other opinion, which is supported by a huge number of scholars and researchers, is not that Imam is isolated in some kind of obscure place. Imam is living with us. We are unable to see him. So the problem, and we have a number of ahadith, both from previous Imams, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, even Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salam alayhi, that talks about this, that Imam is living among you. He receives all the reports every morning and every evening about his followers. And there is another hadith from him, Imam al-Mahdi, that says, it pains me when I see my followers fall and become disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is around. Now, once we have accepted this premise that Imam is among us, the next question that is posed, is it possible for someone during the occultation to meet the Imam? I had heard many stories and read many stories of Marhum Ayatollah Qadi. If you have an opportunity to read his biography, not only him, few of his disciples were given this privilege, but as a subject for an existing or extensive research, I had not read any book before. Until I came yesterday, somebody mentioned the name of this book. The name of the book is Al-Abqari al-Hisan fi Ahwal Maulana Sahib al-Zaman. It's written by one of the scholars that died a few years, it's contemporary scholars, Ayatollah Tehrani, that died a few years ago. And in that book, he has a chapter about the nature and whereabouts of the 12th Imam, but particularly he has done an extensive research on those who were able to meet the Imam and the various possibilities of meeting the Imam. He says that there are 7 possibilities or that people might meet the Imam during the major occultation. Number 1, those who met the Imam and knew who he was. These are the very select and the individual select people. Number 2, those who met him and didn't realize who he was. A list of scholars, particularly in various cities, that they had challenges with regard to theological or juristical issues that they couldn't resolve it. One of them is Sheikh Murtada Ansari, for example, that they couldn't resolve it. They used to go to a particular place because they were commanded, and they would receive at least a voice telling them what would be the answer to the question. Those who had a dream about the 12th Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, where he instructed them how to resolve their problem. 4th, those who Al-Imam al-Mahdi wrote to them in a letter, including Sheikh Mufid, for example. Sheikh Mufid is probably one of the few major scholars of the 4th century that receives a letter from the Imam, and Imam gives him the attribute of my brother. You have to be highly selected for the Imam, the living Imam, to call you Akh al-Aziz. So Sheikh Mufid receives a letter from the Imam. And there is in that letter a detailed explanation of some of the issues that he had. Those who during intense spiritual trance receive a blessing and their issues are resolved. Those of you who are familiar with the Arfan, and particularly some Urafas, unique circumstance in which they detach themselves from the rest of the world, particularly late at night, and focus on detailed prayers. You read in a number of scholars, including Sayyid Qadi, Marhum Ayatollah Qadi, that they used to go once in depth and go deep into the spirituality. Somehow they removed themselves from the rest of the world. And during that trance, the Imam would come to them and would tell them how to resolve their differences or whatever question they have. The sixth one is those who petition the 12th Imam. At-tawassul, whether it's recitation or writing of a letter. During our days in Hawza, in Iraq, in Najaf, it was well known that if you were to fast 40 days, 40 Wednesday, and then on the 40th Wednesday you go to Masjid al-Sahla, you stay up reciting a number of dua at-tawassul and dua, and then you write whatever you want, you drop it either in the Euphrates River, or there was a well within Masjid al-Sahla, you will receive an answer. Huge number of scholars who follow it. Unfortunately, I was too naive to go after it at that time. And those who were with him for a while, that's the seventh category. Those who were with him for a while, and yet they did not recognize him. They accompanied him, either on a journey or on a trip or something, or in tawaf sometimes, but yet they did not recognize that this is the person, the living Imam. Now, the book is both in Arabic and in Persian. So original book, I believe it was written in Arabic. Now the Persian translation is available. Those of you who speak both languages, or at least are familiar with either of these two, please, Al-Abqari al-Hisan fi Ahwal Maulana Imam al-Zaman. It's 9 volumes. So read it whenever you have time, because it enlightens you. Now we want to go back to the initial question that was posed within the list, the comparison, the differences between Ashab of Imam al-Mahdi and Ashab Imam al-Hussain. Before I say the compare and contrast and say similarities and differences, there is a point that I want to mention here which consequently has an effect on the type of character that will be with the 12th Imam and the type of character that were with the 3rd Imam. Those who came to Karbala, particularly on the night of the 10th, it became clear that their destiny is sealed and they are going to be martyred. There was no doubt. But those who go and are selected to become part of the entourage of the 12th Imam, they are not there to be martyred. They are there to establish what we call a global just government. And by default, this conceptual differences is going to lead to characteristic differences between the two. There is a degree of overlap as far as individuals, whether they are in Kufa or in Karbala, or whether they are going to follow the Imam. Imam al-Mahdi is not there to accept martyrs. Imam al-Mahdi looks for select individuals that are going to become part of the management team that ultimately would establish the global just empire or global just governance. And hence, There is fundamental difference between the two. But yet there are overlaps. In the Battle of Karbala, we know that during the night of the 10th, Imam turns the light off and delivers a short speech, and he commands, he says, I have removed my bay'ah from you. Whoever wishes, let them use the darkness of the night and go. Because this qawm, the Bani Umayyah, they want me. You can go. Some left, but the rest stayed. Not only stayed, they stood up and eloquently explained and expressed their love for the Imam, that some of them even said if they were to be cut to pieces 1,000 times and resurrected again, they are not going to let go of the hand of their Imam. So this is a unique characteristic. That kind of devotion and that kind of loyalty is an overlap between both groups. In the same manner that Imam Hussain on the night of Ashura said, after it became clear how many people are staying, said, "Inni la a'lamu ashaban awfa minkum." I don't know of any group of followers that they are more loyal and devoted to their Imam than you are. In a letter that Imam Al-Mahdi salawatullah salam alayhi sends to Sheikh Mufid, we see similar kind of language and narrative being used. Inni la a'lamu ashaban awfa minkum. Again, Imam uses the same language, that I really don't know anyone more devoted. But in the letter that he sends, explains why the delay in returning and the end of the occultation, the major occultation. ولو أن شيعتنا على اجتماع من القلوب في الوفاء بالعهد عليهم لما تأخر عنهم اليمن. If they were all united, their hearts were connected and directed to the concept of wilaya and the leadership of Ahlul Bayt, this project of occultation would have come to an end. Steadfastness and being resolute. This is, again, one of those characters. No matter what we see during Yom Ashura, that steadfastness becomes clear. During Ashura, we see brothers facing brothers in two camps. Students facing their teacher on one side, the student is on the other. Scholar and a disciple on both sides. Tribe members and other tribe members on both sides. Yet, those who have made a commitment to stay in the camp of Imam Hussain remained resolute and steadfast. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا. Stay resolute. That is a common ground. You can't, when the whole survival of the project rests on you, you cannot dither, you cannot become unstable. Whether the Karbala project or whether the return of the Imam project, it's the same thing. Total submission to the Imam. If the Imam commanded one that, look, don't go to war or send your wife back home and so on, without question they followed. The same thing we have for the 12th Imam. So these are few overlaps. Contentment to whatever Allah grants them. Again, part of the character, the overlap. And another one is the fight against what we call deviation and inconsistencies in the faith. These are overlaps. But then we move then we move to the differences. As I explained, Imam al-Mahdi's primary responsibility is to change the global dynamic. It's not there for, certainly some of the followers are going to be martyred, but the select that he chooses, the 313 plus 10, there is a narrative that constantly talks about 313. But when we look at a hadith starting from Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi, there is more than 313. Some indications 313 plus 10. Those 10 are what Amir al-Mu'mineen calls al-wuzara, the one that they have been designated or dedicated with the leadership position that they are sent around the world to take up responsibility of leading communities and directing them to the right path. Just imagine if you go back to your management classes, for any ideology to succeed, you need a management team and you need an organizational model. The management team is under the leadership of Imam al-Mahdi, but you still need individuals that would take that responsibility seriously and they would go around. There is a hadith, I believe from the 12th Imam himself, that Imam commands these 10 individuals that Amir al-Mu'mineen calls them wuzara, the ministers that they go around. He says, I'm commanding you to go around, like Amir al-Mu'mineen when he sent Malik al-Ashtar and gave him the commandment. I command you to go this part of the world or that part of the world. Whenever you have difficulty, open your hand and look at your palm. The answer to your question will appear. This is how much miracle plays in it. But not all of it is miracle. Imam still needs the 313 devoted, dedicated, steadfast individual that they have submitted to the command of Allah no matter what, and they follow the command of Ahlul Bayt or the Imam, the living Imam. And with the exception of those two, or in addition to that, those 10, the hadith, وَلَهُ رِجَالٌ هم الوزراء يتحملون أثقال المملكة عنه ويعينونه على ما قلده الله. That living Imam, when he comes back, will have a number of ministers. They assist in discharging the leadership responsibility that Imam has around the world. So, and when we look at some of these ahadith, there are clearly, there is a hadith from Imam al-Hadi alayhi salatu wasalam. It says that Imam al-Mahdi has, call it a bag or some kind of storage in which the name of all 313, their whereabout, and the 10 are clearly stated, male, female. None of these individuals know each other until they stand up next to the Imam, in either, according to some, in Kaaba when he stands up, or whether it's in Kufa. Then when they see each other, they recognize that they have common goal and shared objective. 50 of them are women. One of the reasons when we constantly talk about the absence of the 313 is not just for the 313 individual that they want to go there and get martyred. It's 313 select that can run and manage the country with the Imam until justice is established. And up to now, because we don't have those individuals, otherwise Imam would have come, we're still waiting. Otherwise, certainly there are more than 313. One with the optimistic estimate can say that around the world, we have about 300 or 400 million Shias. Certainly out of these that commemorate Ashura, there must be 313 that are ready to go and fight and be martyred with Imam Hussain. But this is not what Imam al-Mahdi wants. Imam Hussain wanted to be martyred because his martyrdom was a strategy to destabilize Bani Umayyah. But Imam al-Mahdi wants to establish justice, a universal, global, just governance. That requires a totally different thing than the ordinary martyrdom and so on. The next question is that, well, briefly we are able to establish from a hadith as to who these people are. How can we become one of them? This is, inshallah, a topic that we will unpack and discuss it tomorrow night, inshallah. But rest assured that these individuals, according to a hadith that we have, they did not miraculously become one. They struggled, jihad against nafs al-ammara, and elevated themselves to the level then that Imam can rely on them as ministers, functionaries, an entourage that they can go around the world and establish justice with the Imam. That requires, this is the Jihad al-Akbar that the Holy Prophet was referring to. To be able to struggle against nafs al-ammara and ego, to remove and free yourself, then elevate. Once you elevate, certainly it is possible, through submission to the command of God, to be selected as the very few that would support the living Imam in achieving the ultimate goal, inshallah. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the privilege of being among the followers of the living Imam, inshallah. Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha and keep in your mind and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for speedy recovery of a number of people who have called during this month, the beginning of this month, that they have problem within family or outside, and they need your prayer. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.